Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a man who puts March Madness brackets to shame, Freddie Fisher III, a father, podcaster, wedding officiant, and an anti-bounty man who is here to talk not only about his podcast, Bracket Bastards, but also his nerdy crush on a character from a TV show that still has fans complaining about its cancellation almost 20 years later, and that's none other than Kaylee Frye from, yep, you guessed it, Firefly. Freddie, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself today?
I'm doing great. We're talking about a show that I think is so iconic, even though it didn't last that long, but that's how iconic it is.
Yeah, and the weird thing about it, though, is the show, looking back on it now, it wasn't that good. it really wasn't. People give it so much props for it. It's like Star Wars. You have people that are either going to love it or hate it. I'm one of the people that love it, even with its faults. So, but it's just one of those things. Nathan Fillion is in it too. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. I can't name any other actor except for what is it, Alan?
I don't know how to say his last name, but yeah.
Yeah, I can never remember how to pronounce his last name. But he's been doing a lot of shows lately. He's on Resident Alien, which is really good. It's on Sci-Fi, I think. I'm not for sure on that, but it's a lot of fun. So, but I'm super mad that it only got one season, and I'm mad for the reason why it only got one season.
Why is that?
Because apparently there was certain people in support of it, and when those certain people were kind of politicked out of the position that they're in, good or bad, any of the shows that they liked, even if other people liked them, they got rid of them because they wanted a new power structure. Plus, the show never caught on because it was never in the same time slot.
Let's get to your nerdy crush. You were actually, you had a girlfriend when you first laid eyes on Kaylee. Was she similar to the Firefly character at all?
Yes and no. I'm a fan of nerdy girls in general. I find them to be a little bit more fun and down to earth and everything else. I'm not bashing the non-nerdy type, but I also believe that the nerdy type doesn't get the love that they have earned, that they deserve, or anything else along those lines, because it's been structured the way it is, so that the hot people are supposed to be better. Velma, for instance, off of Scooby-Doo. Mm-hmm. I've always been a Velma fan over Daphne.
Like animated and live action?
Yes. Although Sarah Michelle Gellar she's a good-looking girl, but the girl who plays Velma, and I cannot remember her name in that show at the moment, but the only reason I remember Sarah Michelle Gellar is that I had an ex who is in love with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Mm-hmm. Not the character, but the show.
And was Firefly a show that was something that you liked at the time, or did you catch it in syndication?
I caught it. A friend of mine had a DVD of it, had the entire series, and I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, whatever. I'll go ahead and watch it. I'm assuming the series is going to be like 67 seasons.
Yeah.
Because instead of saying like, hey, yeah, here's season 1 of blah blah blah, that's what he did. He's like, yeah, I have the entire series, and then he handed me season 1, not telling me that it was the only season.
Oh no! So you got?
Oh, I was mad.
I can imagine. You're like, oh, okay, I'm ready to borrow season 2. And then
he's like, yeah, so am I.
Was that the type of show you find yourself enamored with, or was it just like a happy accident?
I think it was a happy accident. This is the guy I'm talking about. He's a huge Star Wars fan too, so I kind of figured it was going to be like a Star Wars type thing. I'm not a Star Wars fan. If for the people who listen to the show, they know that anytime a Star Wars movie comes up, I automatically vote against it, with the exception of The Mandalorian, because I do like that one, but it's because The Mandalorian is a Western, so I'm a fan of like old-fashioned Westerns.
Did you like any of the other characters as much as you like Kaylee? Because I've never seen the show, but I know like the fandom around almost every character on the show is wild. It's bananas. Especially Nathan Fillion's character. He has like a cult
Yeah.
following that's crazy.
There's a lot of people who call themselves browncoats because of that. Which, if I would ever cosplay, which I don't have the money for, I would love to do it. I just don't have the funds for it. If I would ever cosplay, I would probably go as him and have whatever girl I take to it, because I'm pretty sure my wife would not want to go. She's just not that type of person. But whatever girl that decided to go with me, it's like, hey, I have an extra ticket, but you got to dress up as Kaylee. And they're not a couple on the show at all. It's kind of a little sister, big brother type thing.
Do you have any like little sisters or cousins or anything?
No, I don't. They're not too terribly far from one another's ages, and actually in my family I'm the youngest. So as far as siblings go, and my cousins really aren't into that kind of thing. So,
wow.
But when nerdy stuff comes around, and I say nerdy stuff with as much love and respect as I can, it's not a downgrading term for me. So when nerdy stuff comes around, either the Kansas City Comic-Con or the Des Moines Comic-Con or stuff like that, I have no trouble finding somebody to go with.
Well, hopefully we'll get there and you can be a brown coat and show your Firefly pride. So let's talk more about Kaylee. When fans first meet her, she is banging some guy in an engine room and winds up stealing that guy's job as a mechanic. What about her did you find the most attractive? Did it take some time over those few episodes, or was it instant?
It was almost instant. I love a girl that can work with her hands. There's, for some reason, I didn't grow up with this mindset. I found out later on, but a lot of guys have a tendency to believe that a woman's role is in the kitchen or in the household or whatever. I know a lot about cars, but to find a woman who knows more than me about that is extremely attractive. Or any other kind of mechanics or building stuff or farming or anything that is, I'm not going to say outdoorsy, but anything that is like mechanical and just hands-on type thing.
If they ever did like a remake of Grease, you would like the girls to be singing Grease Lightning in the shop class.
Yeah. Which, and I don't really see why girls don't take shop more often.
I don't know if it's offered a lot anymore. My school didn't have it. We had we didn't really have a lot of those kind of electives. There was masonry, which I think kids that they thought weren't going to do much after high school took. They were just out in like the parking lot with bricks all the time.
Yeah, we had classes like that. It was called Career Academy, and they had a lot of the hard labor type stuff. The people that are not going to be doctors.
Yeah.
People like me.
You already mentioned you like smart women, and Kaylee is just that. When did your love for intelligent women start? Was it something that you noticed at a very young age, or did your crush on the not so smarty pants girls as a kid kind of make you think, maybe not those girls. Maybe I like the smart bookwormy types at the Scholastic book fairs.
When I was younger, I wouldn't say younger. I was younger, but I wasn't real super young. Like pretty much before the age of 23, which nobody likes you when you're 23.
Yes.
But I used to date girls that were it was based on looks, somebody that I was extremely attractive to outside. And then I started to realize it's like, yeah, you can take these girls home and have fun for a week or two, but like I'm wanting to eventually settle down and have kids and have a family and do all that type of stuff. And what's going to happen 20 years from now where looks fade, because they do, they change over time. What's going to happen when this woman that I married just turns out to be a complete dunce? She can't carry a conversation, and I have to carry the conversation. And that's going to, I'm a very strong-willed type person. So I'm pretty sure I could keep it in my pants. But if you can't carry a conversation with me, I'm going to carry on a conversation with somebody else. And that opens the door for other activities that I don't want to participate in. So if it's one of those, if I'm leading down that path and I have the ability not to be led down that path, I'd much rather take the first option and marry somebody. I can have an hour-long conversation about nothing and enjoy it.
I don't know the word, but there's a word or term for people that are attracted more to intellect. It's escaping me right now. But do you think that smarter girls have gotten more sought after in recent years? Because we've had like a body positive movement, we've had all these movements and like girl power, feminist uprisings in recent years. Have you seen that? Noticed that?
I think it has to do with a lot of TV shows going on. Veronica Mars comes to mention a lot of powerful women getting to be put into TV shows where men used to be put in those roles. And I think guys are starting to realize that, hey, women can be badasses too. And smart women who are they're not only badasses in front of the screen, but then they're badasses behind the screen because they're super smart. And I'm also a firm believer that you have a tendency to become the people that you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself, like, there's a saying, like if you surround yourself with 5 billionaires, you're going to become the sixth. If you surround yourself with 5 drug dealers, you're going to become the sixth. It's just the people that you associate with is going to determine the type of person that you're going to be. So if you associate yourself with smart people, then just being around them, you're going to learn something. And knowledge is the one thing that people cannot actually take away from you.
One thing that got taken away again, Kaylee's first guy's job, and then she gets with a guy named Simon, who is a doctor. So, hey, did you low-key hate Simon, or did you like envy him in a way because you wanted to be with that girl?
The person that plays Simon, I cannot remember his name at the moment, but he was in, I believe, a show called White Collar or something like that, where he played a thief. So I seen him in that one first, and then I seen him in this show, and it was a switch up for him. But he's a hard guy to hate because his sister in the show is the River is his sister in the show, and he risked his life. He throws away his career, which is one of the best paying jobs in the entire universe at this point, and he's living the high life and everything else because his sister was being taken advantage of, and now he's on the run as a pretty much a felon to save his sister. And you can't hate a guy like that,
even if he's with your girl.
No, I think Kaylee's she's more of a figurehead of the type of girl that I go for. But she was the type of person that I would eventually form my measuring stick around. Like, how do you match up to this person as far as intelligence level and outgoing level? She's a bit naive, but she's not naive. She just kind of portrays a naive person.
My brother would say, because I'm like very gullible with my family, they can always play jokes on me, but I was like a former honor student, all that, and he says, you're so smart, you're stupid. Like, you have the brains, but you're not street smart.
Mm-hmm. You're not street smart, you're Sesame Street smart.
Yeah, basically. You can run around with like Oscar and Big Bird, but don't put me out in those real streets. I'm like, what? Like all bright-eyed Big and B. But as we all know, Firefly didn't last long. He only got one DVD, one little box set, and it got a movie. But what would you have hoped to see from the series and Kaylee if it had gone on for like 5 seasons at least?
I would have eventually loved seeing a couple of the people get together. Mel, who's the captain of the ship, and I can never remember this girl's name, but she's the stewardess, would be probably the best way of saying it. She have them to get together. 2 of the other people were already married and brother and sister, but having her end up with the doctor would have been a good storyline, because it's one of those things that a person of her type deserves everything that she can get, and she wants to get. She's a super nice person, and the entire thing where nice people have a tendency to finish last. It's sad but true. I always tell people, it's like, if you can be nice, but go after what you want.
Would you say that? Well, maybe not, because you said, looking back, Firefly maybe wasn't the greatest show, but it was good. But what would you say is the number one shouldn't have been canceled show, if not Firefly?
It's one of those things where I wish other shows would have been canceled long before they were, but I can't think of any shows that were canceled too soon. Grounded for Life was a really good show that got canceled.
Good answer.
A bit too soon. Last Man on Earth was
number one.
It was super funny, and the first season was kind of a get to know you type thing, and then the second season was super funny, and then it just kind of died off for some reason. I have no idea why.
I was at a job when they announced it got canceled, and I was sitting there crying at the desk. I was so mad, and then I was even more mad. I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but NBC picked that up, and I was like, will somebody take Last Man? Anybody? Somebody? Anybody?
But their shows that's been on for years. I wish they would. I wish they would just go ahead and cancel in there, because they're starting to kind of diminish returns.
What do you mean?
On the show. The more you ever try to fax a fax, every time you copy a piece of paper, something else gets lost. You keep doing it over and over again. So if you have the same show running for 30 years, season 5 and season 25 are completely different, and season 25 is usually downgraded a lot. The Simpsons, for instance, is a fine example of this. I love The Simpsons. I grew up with The Simpsons. It was New Year's Eve 1989, which would technically make it an 80 show. I have died on this hill multiple times, but it would technically started in 1989 and is still going today. It's one of the longest running shows. The quality of season 6 versus the season 26 are two completely different things.
Yeah, that I always think it's weird. Simpsons episodes you can recall that are so fresh in your mind are over 20 years old, but I don't know what they did last season. I mean, I have a Lisa Simpson tattoo, and I haven't watched in over maybe 15 years. And The Walking Dead, another show that should have ended a long time ago.
Yeah, The Walking Dead should have ended at season 5. It went twice as long as it should. The Big Bang Theory, I think, should have ended a couple seasons. It should have ended around the time that Leonard and Penny got married. I think that would have been a great end of the show. If they compacted the major storylines all in that one season, and then it ended it when they got married, it would have been a perfect sign off.
So something that's really common is people like a character, but sometimes they don't like the actor that plays the character. Like I've said, I like Dexter, but Michael C. Hall, I don't follow his career or anything. It's just about the character. Is that how it is for you? Do you follow the actress? Because she's had quite a career. Or is it just...
She has quite a career. She's 40. I hate revealing ages, but I think she's 39. No, 39, I think. Or one of those. She's either 49 or 39, but she started acting at the age of 5. And it was a complete one of those things where somebody just seen her shopping at a mall one day with her mom. And it's hey, do you want to be in a commercial? She said no. And then her mom told her, well, if you get paid for this, you can buy more clothes. And she's okay. So, and then she's been doing it since, constantly getting good stuff. And I think she acts mostly up in Vancouver. They're doing a show. I think she's still in a show right now called Family Law that I don't get to watch because I don't have the channel that it's on, unfortunately. But it's kind of one of those things. She's done a whole bunch of bit parts. She was in The Good Doctor, which is another really good show. Freddie Highmore is probably one of the best actors in this generation.
Is the kid from Bates Motel, correct?
Yes.
It's a good entity. Back to Kaylee. You noted to me, and even on online, I was seeing it's no secret that her character has this thing about strawberries. So I wanted to know if you got to go on a date with her, make her a strawberry dish, what would it be?
It'd just be simple, fresh picked strawberries. You don't need anything special to gum up the works on certain things like that. You just have a simple dish of strawberries that are chilled, jumbo size strawberries, fresh, washed off from the garden. You don't want any dirt on it or anything like that. But it's having too many sprinkles on a sundae just mars the beauty of the sundae itself. Keeping it simple. And the entire thing with that is that the show is on the very edges of space. All right. So they don't see a lot of people. So if you have the ability to get fresh fruit, that's kind of a once every couple of years thing. It's like I live 2 blocks away from Walmart. If I wanted to go get fresh strawberries, I can walk 2 blocks and get some fresh strawberries. It's just kind of one of those things for her. It's like it's something from your childhood that you loved and you can't find anymore. A lot of people love like Dunkaroos. You can't really find Dunkaroos anymore.
No, big.
You can, but they're just yeah, they are. They're making a comeback. Twinkies did the same thing.
For Dunkaroos, I was like, this is kind of just like vanilla frosting. It wasn't as great. Yeah. But now, like, God, my former fat kid self, like, how many type of Dunkaroos? Because they have cake mix, cookie mix, a whole jar of frosting, like pancakes. I was like, oh my God, I would have had like childhood diabetes if this had been in the 90s and not just like the one Dunkaroo thing. Kids today don't know. But you said that you would do a simple dish of just fresh strawberries for Kaylee, and in our imaginations, we're going to say that wins her over. She's going to leave Simon. She's going to be with you. So if you got to live in the Firefly world with her, how do you think your lives would be like together?
Well, probably very short, because I don't think I'd survive in that world.
I've had people say that. They're like, I would die.
I think I would die. Like I would do something stupid. Like I would get caught in like the airlock or something like that, and just like fall asleep on the doorway, and the ship takes off, and I'm stranded somewhere. Like I do stupid stuff all the time, so I'm not too terribly worried about it. But I'm assuming if stuff doesn't completely fail on us and I do something stupid like that, let's say end result is one of the planets that are newly being ventured, set up a cabin, grow food. I am ironically wearing a camouflage shirt right now, but I don't hunt. So, but in that case, I'd probably go out and hunt and fish and stuff like that. We just have a long ass conversations.
Right. Well, and we're hoping you survive the world. You don't die off soon with Kaylee. Give her a short-lived romance. We want it to go on forever in our imagination. But I like that you were honest. I've had people say that. They're like, I don't know. Their world is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time to talk more about Bracket Bastards. It kicked off in late 2021, but what led up to that point? Had you always had an interest in brackets?
No, it's kind of an odd story. As I said before, I'm a huge wrestling fan, and there is a group on there called The New Day, and they have a podcast out there called The New Day, ironically enough, and they did a bracket of like the top TV shows, and the winner of that, spoilers, was Dragon Ball Z. I cannot stand that show.
Oh, they did like all types of shows, or like their favorite.
Yeah, they did all types of shows that they had on there. It was a short bracket. It was just kind of a single, like a 3 episode type thing. They've done other brackets since, but I got mad about it, and it was COVID season, so like I had it was like the beginning of COVID season, so like all of the restaurants were closed, so I couldn't go out for lunch, and so I started bringing my lunch to work, and sitting down there with a piece of paper talking to people about this, and my work buddies and I were discussing this, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and make my own. So I did a bracket of like a lot more than 64, because I broke it down into different like live TV shows, game shows, cartoons, kid shows, everything else, and bringing it all into one. And I can't remember who won the entire thing. I think it was like Deal or No Deal or something like that, something stupid. But we had a 5-minute discussion about like every matchup. We don't spend that much time on the show discussing the stuff. But like, for instance, I have a list here. We're doing back to school movies eventually, and how about Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield versus Kindergarten Cop.
Ooh, Kindergarten Cop all the way.
See, on the other hand, I would go Back to School, just because it's like I'm a fan of Kindergarten Cop. I'm not a huge fan of Schwarzenegger, but Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, the man that gets no respect, I think it's a better school movie. It's the better heartfelt movie. It's a better teen movie. It's all the things along the line. It's a better movie. It's a better college movie than Kindergarten Cop is an action movie, if that makes sense, type thing.
It makes
But
sense.
with
Well,
my vote, and your vote being different, the other 3 people would have to decide with their votes on who moves on, type thing. And then we would break it down to one eventual winner. And there's movies on here like I said, Back to School, School of Rock, Orange County, American Graffiti, Drumline, Dazed and Confused. There's a whole bunch of stuff on this list. And bringing it down to one, I personally, my favorite matchup on here is the extremely goofy movie versus Dead Poets Society.
I would go with an extremely goofy movie.
So would I, but like I would have a hard time deciding on that. I think the first goofy movie is better than the extremely goofy movie, but I absolutely love Dead Poets Society. But I can't vote against Goofy. Like, dude, that guy is the ultimate single dad in a corporation where there's a lot of single dads and you don't see a lot of single moms. But that's what we do, and it's banter the entire way through. Like, it's not a serious discussion. I would love to have a show where we have a serious discussion about like the movie Old School versus Police Academy. Could you imagine having a completely straight-faced conversation about those 2 movies?
No.
It'd be impossible. It's one of those things. But trying to get through that conversation without cracking a smile would be really difficult. But it'd be a lot of fun. And that's what it is. I think the world needs a lot more fun now. We have gas prices going through the roof. We have wars across the world, famine, drugs. The worst of all, we have politics.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of bad stuff going on. I'm not saying we need a distraction to distract us from what's going on. I think we need a little bit of time to decompress about everything that's going on, and just our shows are anywhere between 90 minutes to 2.5 hours ish. They're not work appropriate depending on where you work and if you wear headphones, and they're definitely not minivan friendly depending on how cool your kids are. So there's a warning on that one. We're not sponsored either, which is really, I mentioned that just for the simple fact that we don't have to answer to anybody corporate.
But I do say I love the idea for the show, because when my friends and I would drive to Vegas, it was my job to, come up with the card games to keep us busy. And I did a lot of brackets. Mine are mostly 90s and boy band based. But I want to know, what are some of the topics you've done so far that have been some of your favorites?
We did, okay. There's one of the hosts that we have on there. His name is Harvard Laguerre. He hates Will Smith. Like, this is pre-slap too. This is not a current thing. This is pre-slap. His his mic cut out, not half of the show, but right around the end of the show. And we used to do this trivia questions, and whoever won got to pick the next topic. So Jeremy, who's probably one of the biggest bastards we have, he decided to do an entire Will Smith bracket. And then Harvey, who would sign in next week, and we didn't tell him, of course. Like we would just tell him that, like, well, I haven't got the topic yet or anything else. So when he signed on, we didn't tell him what the bracket was. We just started out with the first one, and I was expecting like he'd get it after the second matchup. And he's like, I have a feeling I'm part of a Will Smith bracket. So he, on every single episode, whatever, if even if the movie's associated with Will Smith, like the movie Aladdin, the original 1993 or 2 or whatever it is, Aladdin, he'd vote against it because Will Smith is associated with it, type thing. So he had to vote for a Will Smith movie 31 times in a row.
What won? Which one won?
I think it was Independence Day. It was either Independence Day or Aladdin, the new one. That was a lot of fun. The Mother's Day episode was a lot of fun. It was it's different. If you listen to the other episodes, then listen to the Mother's Day one, there's a huge difference, because the only person on there that was not female was me, and I was voting for my wife. I let my wife fill out the bracket beforehand, and I would vote for her, type thing. But the rest of them were all moms, except for my daughter, because she was a last minute fill-in. So we've done everything from like Disney movies, Disney songs, game shows, banned movies. Sorry, movies that they don't want you to see. Which that one was a lot of fun because they had movies on there like the Simpsons movie. Mm-hmm. It's been banned in several countries. Saw 6, not the rest of them, not the other 8 movies that are there, but just Saw 6 was banned for I don't know why or what reason. And then you have other movies on there that were going to get banned, like The Interview. It got banned in North Korea for obvious reasons. But it was one of our early episodes too. So listening to that episode and listening to like the episode that's going to drop this upcoming Sunday, you can definitely tell a difference, and it's kind of fun not to only laugh at what's going on, but you can laugh at how absolutely geeky we are because we haven't got anything nailed down yet.
Well, the Disney song one sounds like probably the hardest one. I don't know if I could choose between some of them and Disney. Well, I could probably do Disney movies, but Disney songs, I don't know. That's hard. But I'm
not even sure who won that.
Are you like meticulous about making the brackets? Because I know when I would like make them for me and my friends, I'm like, well, yeah, I could spend hours doing it. Way too much time.
I am and I'm not, and the reason I say that is I try to get a wide range as I possibly can. Stuff, because I'm trying to get as many people involved and along those lines. But in the end, like I work 40 hours a week at an actual job. I don't get paid to do this. It's just a lot of fun that we get to have throughout the week, or not throughout the week, but on certain days. And we're doing Kevin Smith movies versus Mel Brooks versus Kevin Smith movies. There's only 16 movies total, so it's going to be a short one. It's going to be like one of those. It's going to be like a bonus episode or one of those episodes that are done if something doesn't go right the week and we just can't fix it. We're gonna throw it out there as a filler episode, and so we can get stuff fixed.
Well, other than Mel Brooks versus Kevin Smith, can you tell us what you and the rest of the bastards have coming up? Just a sneak peek of some more brackets we can look out for this summer.
The next one we have is our second 2000 songs. I'm not going to tell you the winner of the one that we just recorded. It's going to be out this upcoming Sunday. We have Father's Day after that, made up of Father's Day. They're not all fathers. Some of them are, they're more father figures. For instance, the movie Secondhand Lions is there. They're not dads. They're kids' uncles, I believe, but they made a spot in there too because they're not fathers, but they're father figures. 90s kids shows.
Ooh,
We have
good one.
the host from 90s Life is coming to help us on that one. Ryan Reynolds movies. I believe the co-host from Two Drunk Girls, if I'm remembering that right off the top of my head, are going to join us for that one. Everything from space movies, pop songs is going to be a bracket in there too. 90s songs we have there. I have probably 50 different lists that we're going to do. For our 50th episode, 50 and 51, we're doing bastards, bitches, and other non-do-gooders because we're a podcast of bastards, so we're going to celebrate bastards in movies.
Like
for instance, yes. Well, not only villains, because there's a difference between villains and bastards. Some villains you can kind of associate with. Joker, for instance.
Well, I'm looking forward to anything related to 90s. The kids show one. I'm excited for. I'll have to go listen to the Disney song one and yell at the computer if you guys don't agree with what I agree with. That's the best part of brackets.
Yeah, and I always tell people too, is like, you know what, there's a Facebook page for it. If you can find us, they Facebook has a tendency to limit stuff, because our name is bastards. They don't like to post our stuff because apparently bastards is a foul word. But they do that, so trying to find us may be kind of a pain. We're on Twitter as well. Drop us a comment saying, hey, I don't agree with yada yada yada. I try to answer every single message unless it's just blatantly hostile. If you're gonna come at me, be respectful about it. I will have a conversation with you. If you have an idea about how we can improve the show, great. If you know somebody who would want to sponsor the show in a way that we don't have to change it, that's kind of what the show is that we want to have the ability to speak our mind.
Well, you mentioned Facebook and Twitter, but where else can people find you online?
Go ahead and go with Facebook. You can find me at Facebook at Freddie Fisher. While you're on Facebook, check us out on Bracket Bastards. The S in Bastards, it's a $sign. Most of our fans already know that story, and I've just told you. Bracketology is another page to find me on. I'm there most often. We have 2 different polls going every single day. Your vote counts just as much as mine does. I don't have any extra votes because I run the page. You can find us on Twitter at Bracket Bastards. Find me on Twitter at the Bastard They Warned You About. And find me on Instagram at Can't Lick Me.
Well, Freddie, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about brackets and your nerdy crush. And everyone, you can find all of that information about Freddie and Bracket Bastards below. And until next time, remember, keep crushing it.